Hello and welcome to a game of Dota 2. You are watching StarLadder. It is still Season 8 of course, but we're closing in on the end of the group stages. It is already day 22 of 30 days of group stages. And we've got ourselves our second game of a day of 7 games in total. So this is our second game of 7. Yes, I said it right. And it is Fnatic for the second time up against NEXT.kz. This time, of course, I am not alone. I am once again joined by G Advance. Welcome back.
Turn to ban.
Sup?
So
I'm excited for this game.
Yes.
I'm because NEXT.kz, they've been trailblazing. They've been absolutely stomping, but they've been doing really well versus all of the teams that you would go, oh yeah, I'm sure they'll do kind of okay in StarLadder, but you maybe don't expect them to go to the finals. And they've not gone up against some of the best teams yet.
And this is their real trial, if you will. They have been sitting on #1 spot for the most of this season because they've had so much games played early on in the season and they've won most of them. They now have 3 losses to their name, 12 wins, so 9 wins, 12 games total. I was going to say 12 wins, then yeah. So yeah, 12 games, 9 wins, 3 losses. If they lose this game, they're not yet hopeless to make it to the playoffs in Kiev, but it's going to be a lot more tough because right now, as of this moment, if you look at the rankings and you look at the list, you see a lot of teams, and actually 3 teams that still have 2 losses rather, and that means that they have the highest amount of point potential. Like, they can get the most amount of points of all the teams still in StarLadder. And of course, if you then have 4 losses, then your max amount of points will decrease quite a bit, and might actually be decreasing to that point where they won't be able to go to Kiev anymore. Because as you can see, there's a lot of teams that still have 3 losses, 2 losses, 4, like 4 is a bit already on the wrong side, but 3 losses. There's a lot of good teams hanging around that. Anyway, Fnatic, of course, they are slowly but steadily climbing that ladder. They are now number 11 after previous game. Still on the right side of the board. Now, if they win this one, they will move to the left side, which is, of course, what they're aiming for. We're going to see if they can do it. And, well, to be honest, it is going to be a very different game than what we previously saw, because Nature's Prophet and IO, the bans that Virtus.pro did in their first game, then the first game that we saw right here, they are still in the pool, so Fnatic could still pick up either of those 2 or both even, as they do secure Crystal Maiden first. But Bristleback and Elder Titan and Slark removed from the pool together with VIII.
Yeah, this is a pretty standard draft from both teams here, both being really conservative and safe with it. Neither team is going, you know, all out and being like, we know you're good at this hero, so we're just going to ban it. And letting them get heroes that might be technically better, things like Elder Titan and such like that. Heroes that are, you know, universally accepted to be powerful in all hands. So NEXT.kz and Fnatic, they both might want to go for signature heroes. One thing that I'm not really sure, has there been any real signature hero for NEXT.kz this tournament? Because last season, NEXT.kz were a very different team as far as playstyle to this current season.
Well, we've seen so many heroes coming up from NEXT.kz. They have such a diversified draft that the only thing I can think of is that Whatafaka overall does better with aggressive mids, and Amazing does amazing with, I believe, the VIII. VIII and Rubik, I believe, as well. So, but, I mean, nothing very specific, not as specific as you could be, for example, Trixie Nature's Prophet.
Yeah, and I think that's really important in this current meta, because we are at a stage where almost every hero is viable. There are some of the more defensive supports are sometimes really hard to run. Heroes like Chikiro and heroes like that who play very safe in lane, don't really do anything, kind of just want to pull, can be a little bit dangerous to run. But otherwise, yeah, this is a time in which if you can play every hero, you have a lot of different options. So it'll be interesting to see where NEXT.kz goes. So far they picked up Clock, Alk. Again, really safe stuff. Very things that can do a lot of different things as well. I'm excited to see Timbersaw back though, because I've not really seen that hero very much recently.
True. Trixie Timbersaw, it will be most likely. So it does mean that we're going to see a solo offlane. I'm thinking that Fnatic with this pickup kind of gave away quite a bit about their lineup. At least it might, of course, be mind games. They're making us think that they're going to put the Timbersaw on the offlane, while in fact they are going to rotate stuff around. I mean, yesterday, for example, we did see Honey on the safe lane at some point. But, I mean, and then, of course, having an aggressive tri lane and still put something else middle. But it's so far, it's pretty standard for Fnatic to put Trixie on the Timbersaw on the off lane. And with the Crystal Maiden also picked up already, I'm thinking they're just looking for a safe game. Perhaps, I mean, they have a bit more pressure on this game, I believe, than on Virtus.pro's game, because as we know, Virtus.pro has been struggling a bit with consistency, while NEXT.kz have just been really strong across the entire season. So perhaps they want to just play it a bit more safe than they otherwise would, and hereby secure themselves at least solid heroes, hoping that there's not going to be too many good heroes banned out next, as we do see a Klinks removed from the pool on the side of Fnatic. And NEXT.kz, they ban out an Enchantress, so don't want to have that early roaming jungling coming out from Fnatic.
Yeah, and this could be an indication that NEXT.kz maybe want to go aggressive. I wouldn't particularly advise it though, because they're running a Clockwork. Generally, Clockwork goes solo on one of the side lanes. He either goes, generally it's almost always an off lane solo, because he just gets so much done there compared to most heroes, and that could mean that you end up with a 1v1 matchup versus Timbersaw, if they are to go aggressive, because he'll be on the safe lane, and Timbersaw versus Clockwork, not a matchup you want to be the Clockwork on. Yes, you can burn some of his mana, but if he just harasses you, you're a strength hero, you take more damage from his whirling death than most other heroes do because of the stat loss. It's not a very good matchup, so I think NEXT.kz will play this relatively safe as far as their draft goes. I'm interested to see where they're going to put the Alchemist though, because we haven't seen. Well, I know where they're going to put it now. Unless they're going support, it's probably going to be a safe lane, because it's not going to be a mid. No one takes the mid away from OD.
No, OD needs that safe lane solo, or at least a solo lane. Safe lane solo could happen as well, but he needs a safe lane and a solo lane. As in, yeah, you know what I mean. And mid lane is going to be the one for him. I mean, we have seen Wadafaka play Clockwork before as well, so there is some potential for mixing it up, though the standard thing would be put the Clockwork off lane, Alchemist safe lane, OD mid. Although if you want to mix it up, OD safe lane, Alchemist mid, Clockwork off lane, or Clockwork mid, Alchemist support, OD safe lane. Yeah, it's there are quite a bit of possibilities, but I'm thinking we're gonna go with.
What about OD jungle?
OD jungle.
Do we new meta?
New meta.
Yeah, new meta.
Invented
it's
by
exciting and
NEXT.kz.
That sounds awful. Can you imagine a team actually trying that? Like, I want to see someone try that.
Oh, not a competitive game, please. No.
Hey, I remember a time when Jungle Storm was legit.
But that's
like, do you remember people doing that?
Yeah, because you can't.
You can't do it as well now, though. It's not as good now. No. It's still like doable, though.
But you're like the jungle is slower overall across the board, so you know it's a bit more difficult. We do have an. I like the Invoker ban. They definitely did their homework, making sure that there's not going to be a Hani Invoker coming out, and with the OD already selected. In terms of mid matchups, perhaps now Fnatic is going to get forced to either dual lane mid, which is still definitely a possibility, especially when now also with the IO picked up, and we've seen them go for Luna, Crystal Maiden mid before, I believe, earlier in the season. But Timbersaw against an OD is not really ideal. He can do it though. It's just not ideal. And if they really want to, I mean, Razor's still in the pool, but I'm not really a fan of that anymore. It works.
I think the Razor thing is really, really nice, but Razor's really terrible versus Clockwork. Those cogs really, really mess you up as a Razor, because you need to be able to chase people, you need to be able to go mobile. Things like the Alchemist stun as well do a ton of damage versus Razor. I wouldn't want to pick it up in this game. It's still a very, very good counter to OD though. I think a dual lane mid makes the most sense. I don't want them to get too greedy though. That's one issue that you can do when you run a dual lane mid. A lot of teams are like, oh, we've got a dual lane there, so it can't lose the lane. So they pick up, you know, Wisp, Tiny, and then they realize they don't have any armor between them, and they lose the lane anyway. So I think it'll be interesting to see where Fnatic go with this. I think they're trying to wait as long as possible to actually make a decision though, because they can still run a defensive tri lane with these heroes.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm kind of surprised by the Shadow Demon pickup. Normally you see Shadow Demon OD when they're up against a Doom or something like that, you know, to make sure that the Doom damage is not going to be all that important anymore, but this Shadow Demon, it doesn't really have anything to follow up with apart from the Alchemist stun, as in Disrupt, and the Alchemist can charge up a stun before it hits. Maybe they still want to pick up a Mirana, but that one's also already banned out, so I'm kind of confused about NEXT.kz's pickup there. And the one thing that we saw yesterday was a Shadow Demon disrupting at the wrong times, and then you can just completely mess up your entire team's farm. As we do still have the Razor pickup. I mean, it's a boring lane up against the OD, but I guess it's a safe one. It's a safe choice.
It's a direct counter. It's so tempting whenever you draft to just be like, should we just get a direct counter? Should we just, you know, screw the strategy, screw the execution? Sometimes it's just smart to just be like, this hero is brilliant in this situation, even if it's very, you know, static. It's very boring. It's static as its Razor. Haha, haha. Oh dear, that wasn't intended. But one thing I'd like to agree with, I don't think the Shadow Demon's a good choice in this game at all, because NEXT.kz, they already have a pseudo disruption coming out from the OD. It's in some ways a better disruption. It's, you know, it doesn't make the illusions, but when has anybody ever cared about those? And Fnatic don't have anything that you really want to use Shadow Demon to help you dodge things with. Crystal Maiden's going to get you. Crystal Maiden's, you know, she's not doing a huge amount of nuke damage. Mostly she's about disabling you, at which point if you're in disruption, you're still basically disabled. Timbersaw's damage is pretty much impossible to, you know, avoid using the disruption.
He's still going to stand next to you afterwards, basically.
Yeah, but it's... I think the Shadow Demon doesn't really serve any purpose here. He's pretty good anti-push with his Shadow Poison if he maxes it, but then you don't have very much in the Soul Catcher. Perhaps they're just using Disruption to stop the Razor. Because I think NEXT.kz knew the Razor was coming, because you pick OD, the hero's been so dominant recently. Whenever you pick OD, it's kind of like the enemy team can get annoyed with you. And actually, okay, so this is a support alchemist. Queen of Pain is going to go up versus the Razor.
I like that. Like, if you're seeing the lineup that NEXT.kz has right now, I mean, Queen of Pain, OD, and Clockwork, they don't need supports per se. So, is this a Shadow Demon Alchemist roaming? In that case, if they can make it happen, if they can make it work, I'm going to be happy with that, because then Shadow Demon is indeed one of the better initiators, and if they're going to gank up on the Clockwork lane, and of course you can set up for the Cogs, you can set up for the Alchemist disable, it definitely has some potential, especially early game, and that might have been their plan all along. We do have the Storm Spirit picked up by Fnatic. I mean, apparently they realized, well, if you're not going to go for very hard carry, then we are not going to go for a very hard carry. They ran Era Storm Spirit yesterday as well, and it worked out perfectly in the end. So yeah, I'm happy with it. They actually did IO Storm Spirit relocates, by the way, in terms of combinations with the IO.
Is that really necessary?
Yeah, that was a thing.
Retransporting a Storm Spirit, one of the most maneuverable hero in the game. We're going to do global TP him just to make your life that much more difficult. Yep. Yeah, I really like the Storm Spirit pickup as well. Until that was coming up, I was thinking Fnatic might go greedier just because it's Fnatic and they're kind of greedy. And I was going to say, if they did go greedier, something that NEXT.kz could have done, and they could still possibly do, I don't think it's very, very dangerous. It's very all-in. But they could do an aggressive tri-lane with a Queen of Pain, because early on, Shadow Poison is very, very powerful, especially when you think, you know, Amazing and Reeves can be following up on that, roaming around. It's not ideal. It does mean that the Queen of Pain can fall behind in levels, as well as last hits, which is very, very dangerous. They might even do it anyway. Equals running up there very fast. I think they might. It's very dangerous to do, though. I'm not sure.
It's a possibility. It's always an option. Let's take a look at who is playing what. By the way, now that people in the game can, like, you can select, in terms of items that are shared in the game, you can select things that are held by players, but you cannot select things that are held by casters. But Era is having the same hot skin as I have, and you should select that one because it's awesome. Thank you. So let's take a look at who's playing what. For NEXT.kz, indeed, Equal already here on the top lane so far. He looks to be by himself though, so he'll be on the off lane. Wadafaka still playing the Clockwork. We've seen him on the Clockwork before. He'll be playing it again, and it looks like he just wants to go up against the Razor with that, perhaps, or aiming to be up against that. We have got Mantis playing the OD. Mantis is normally the carry player, so carry OD. He is going to get supported by Amazing on the Shadow Demon and Reeves on the Alchemist. Though I am hoping that those two are not going to be taken too much away from the bottom lane, because as we already said during the draft, an OD just needs a lot of farm, a lot of levels as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of mind games going out from both teams here. On the side of Fnatic, we do have Fly. He's going to be one of the supports for the team, picking up the Crystal Maiden. He's going to be on the bottom lane for the moment. Trixie is also going to be there, the offlaner for the team, going to be picking up the Timbersaw. In the solo mid, it is going to be Hani on the Razor. Looks like Watafak is going to get the best matchup for him then. Pretty good versus the Razor. No Tail, currently in his own jungle. Going to pick up the IO. And on the safe lane, it is going to be Era picking up the Storm Spirit.
Yeah, interesting lanes coming out from Fnatic. And I mean, we saw that in a previous game as well. It's not as static as it used to be, I guess. We see a lot of dual lanes, a lot of options in terms of where everybody's going to go, and I kind of like it. It messes things up for teams a lot if you indeed have picked a hero solely to counter one other hero, which is of course the case for the Razor, most likely. I mean, that's the reason why I pick up a Razor up against the OD. Then you can completely mess up the lane. So this OD, not up against the Razor, might be forcing Fnatic to rotate their lanes around, which will of course result into missed farm, missed experience, because they have to rotate and they have to either use teleport scrolls or they have to walk there, and either way it's not going to be ideal.
Yeah, and one thing I'm a little bit... I want to see how this Queen of Pain does, because Queen of Pain, not exactly a typical offlane hero. He can't afford to go... he actually already skilled Blink, when he maybe could have gotten away with Shadow Strike here. It's a little bit iffy, but now he's going to be going up versus a dual lane of Storm Spirit Wisp. This is a very unusual situation for a Queen of Pain. This is not a situation you normally see from this hero, so I think she'll do relatively okay here, but I don't think we're going to be seeing the usual Queen of Pain that can take over games, that can snowball out of control. I think what we're going to be looking at is how this bottom lane does, and how both of these teams farm. You know, is Mantis going to be able to get to that point where he can be just a massive mid-game force before people can get BKBs or not?
Yeah, and actually with the Queen of Pain Storm matchup, we've seen this matchup zillions of times in the middle lane. And of course now they're not middle, but Era doesn't really need the IO, so this is just going to be a free farming IO in the jungle. So we do have a smoked up rotation coming up from Reeves and Amazing. They've got the disruption, they've got the unstable concoction. They want to go for Hani perhaps. But Hani's positioning is pretty safe, so I'm not quite sure if they can make it done. And they're still going to try. I wouldn't have been surprised to see them rotating top. Maybe help out the Queen of Pain a bit more, but no, Hani is safe. And look, I mean, he's got that ward on the bottom lane, so they do realize that the supports are not pulling or stacking, so they have to be ganking somewhere. The ping actually comes out, the smoke wears off, so Hani had the right idea there, and will be safe.
Yeah, I think they should actually be going top. I really do think the I know it's crazy to do it, but the aggressive tri-lane with a Queen of Pain core is relatively strong. It's very, very dangerous to run though, because if you get your Queen of Pain underleveled, a hero is so bad underleveled. It's one of the worst heroes as far as being underleveled is concerned, up there with the OD, which is a real issue for the side of NEXT.kz. Not as bad for the side of Fnatic. They have a few more heroes who can cope without quite as much in the way of levels, I feel.
Yeah, I agree. I think these lanes, once again, Fnatic being really smart with their lanes. They might not be up against the hero that they were expecting mid, but I think they have got the lanes picked out right. Trixie's going to get decent amount of farm, decent amount of experience. Same thing goes for the top lane. Era is going to have a fun time, and he is going to be that Storm Spirit that we normally expect to see. Yesterday, though, he went for Bloodstone first, and even though I was kind of not happy with it at first, it did pay off later on. And if he's doing the same build again, we're not going to see him rotate as fast as we normally see Storm Spirits rotate, but we are going to see a very scary one, especially since he doesn't really need to rotate per se to be able to help out around the map, because he's going to have no-till jumping him around to help out with the kills, and he does need to kind of help with kills because he's one of the solid disables that his team has, and they don't have that many of those.
Yeah, I think we will maybe be seeing a Bloodstone this game as a first item. The thing with going Bloodstone is, if you go Bloodstone, it's very, very greedy, and it's basically saying, I want to carry this game, you know, I want things to be entirely in my favor. I'm not bothered about doing damage now. What I want is the capability of getting a lot of farm, of getting a ton of those charges on that, and just being a really, really big impact. We'll see if Era wants to go for it. He might go for it, he might not. He might just want a Lincoln's or an Orchid, maybe something a little bit, you know, more traditional, because, well, Bloodstone is probably more traditional, but not in Pro Dota.
Timber Saw? Nah, he'll be fine. Timber Chain to the high ground. Haste Rune is being saved for Wadafaka. He actually is going to get it as well. Oh, he's going for the Crystal Main. He's going for Fly.
She's dead. He's dead. He's going to kill him.
He should be able to. The Flare comes in. Easy level 6 shot. No, it's level 5. Battery Assault Tower. Keeps him safe. Teleport incoming. It's just an IO. Looks like Trixie's still finding some... Hello, Ancients. Doing damage here. Has to be careful though. A Frostbite. Oh, there's no Frostbite up on Fly. You can only Nova, and that's not going to help out when you have a Haste Rune there. Oh my god, that is one of the saddest things that I've seen on the Crystal Maiden. Oh, but what a fuck. His Haste Rune has run out. He was stucking around for too long. His Cog's still on cooldown. This could be your first blood. Never mind. First blood goes away with Era. Thank you for ruining it for me, Era. He gets a Queen of Pain.
Yeah, they do manage to take out the Queen of Pain. This is one of the issues with running Queen of Pain outside of the mid lane. Because the gap between where the towers are is so long, if you use your blink at the wrong time, you're still not actually safe if somebody's trying to kill you. And that appears to be what happened with that. So, Queen of Pain takes a tumble. And that could be a little bit of an issue for the side of NEXT.kz, but they do still have the Clockwork, as well as the OD doing relatively well for themselves. And Clockwork not doing as well in this mid lane matchup as you might expect. It's possibly just because Clockwork doesn't enjoy the mid lane as much. He actually prefers being on the side lanes because that's where he can get the most use out of his cogs.
Definitely. And I mean, Trixie, even though he is not getting that much experience just yet, he hasn't died yet. Oh, come on. That's gonna be another kill. They could dive with that overcharge helping out. Queen of Pain died under her tier 1 tower. Era with the second kill of the game. It's gonna be a scary Storm Spirit. And if that is gonna be Bloodstone, well, oh, it looks like what the fuck I might actually die. Is there a Plasma Field? Nope. Cooldown still. Close though. But Trixie is actually... Yeah. Hello, Trixie. It's nighttime though, so he doesn't see me yet. He can go in from behind and can then see that the Clockwork is still around.
I think he knows where he is. He knows where he is. He's just trying to...
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
He's
now
just
he
mind
knows.
Gaming.
With the flare coming out, they should have seen the flare. But he continues rotating. Queen of Pain actually looks to be taken over mid for now. Will be the one
this
to
is
special form.
This is a really big win for the side of Fnatic, because this means that Equals lost his lane really, really badly here. He does pick up a bottle, so he is trying to, you know, go into the standard sort of Queen of Pain way of playing, but this was the issue, is both times that he's been killed, he's used his blink and it just doesn't get you far enough away, whereas if he was in the mid lane, he'd be well behind his tower as soon as he uses the blink. So this is very dangerous for them, because a Queen of Pain who's behind essentially gives you nothing. She's very, very XP dependent and item dependent.
I do like that also Fnatic just decides to put their offlane in the middle lane for now, so Trixie is actually up against Equal. But that means that Razor has moved on. He is actually in the jungle right now, taking some farm, as we do have 3 heroes now sitting on the top lane. Because of course Fly wasn't needed bottom anymore. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go up on the Clockwork here. Clockwork has already... playing very careful though, because of course Era is level 7, so he's ready to jump in, and even if he might be looking to suicide, there's going to be an IO there to save his life. IO is level 6. They could also start rotating around the map. They can rotate for the Queen of Pain, which is, I guess it's kind of happy for him that lucky for him that he still can blink away and that the tether doesn't stun anymore. But if the relocate is properly done, then Era can just jump after him and can vortex, and there's still no getting away even after the blink. They should still be able to get them. Shadow Demon, in the meantime, he is making his way back to base. He's actually been jungling a bit. And he's not really the best jungler. I guess that kind of shows, because he's level 3.5. I mean, talking about support levels regardless, Reeves also level 3. We've got Io level 6 and Crystal Maiden level 3. Of course, Crystal Maiden low level, but an Io level 6. I mean, you got 2 level 3s on one side and level 3 and level 6 on the other side. That's a big difference.
Yeah, I definitely think part of the issue is that these supports on the side of NEXT.kz haven't had really anything to do. The only lane in which they could maybe actually go and kill people is probably on the top lane. The Razor, relatively difficult to kill in the middle lane. He can always turn things against you as well, as long as he survives long enough with that static storm. Whereas on the top lane, you would have been going onto a Storm Spirit who's sort of maybe level 4 early on in the game. Storm Spirit doesn't provide you a huge amount. He can kind of remnant and just try and walk away, but they've not managed to get any of their supports to do anything on the side of NEXT.kz. The side of Fnatic hasn't particularly either, but that's because they're running defensive supports. Their heroes probably scale slightly better. Heroes like Storm Spirit particularly are very, very surprisingly good in the late game. It's one of the... I think the only other team that's really ran Storm Spirit as a late game carry is it Speed? Has anybody else really ran Storm as a late game hero though? Can't really think of any.
Speed mostly. But Era, even though he goes for Bloodstone, he's not really a late game carry on the Storm. Yesterday he definitely was not. He was just jumping around, and normally you do get forced to go for a bit more late game if you are going for your Bloodstone first and you don't really have maybe the bestest of early game. But first of all, he's got a great early game. Second, he's going to have No-Tail backing him up all the way. So he can be a bit more ballsy, he can be a bit more aggressive. It doesn't need to be only because they're awkward. Yes, ballsy, I realize it. But
Storm Spirit and IOB, ballsy. It's funny, because both of them are balls.
I didn't actually think about the IO just yet. I thought about the other guy.
Yeah, they're both ballsy. Oh dear.
Oh god.
Chat's going to explode from that one.
Yeah.
That is...
key pose.
But yeah, I think you're right. This Storm Spirit can afford to go, aggressive during the mid game, even though he won't have particularly the items for it. He can still go for those other items, but the way he's saving money, I mean, if you're gonna buy parts to an Orchid, you can go and buy them at the side shop.
True.
So he would probably do that anyway. I think he is going to go for this Bloodstone. He's going to aim for things slightly later. It's a lot more reliable as far as going later is concerned.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to worry about having to find kills himself, because like you say, No-Tail's going to take him there. So I think this is really interesting though to see a Storm being relocated.
Never mind. Orchid it is. Era, he's got the first part of a moving staff. I mean, it's nice too, especially up against the Queen of Pain. I already just said that you can zip after her, that is. But, well, I guess he had the luxury of choice, Didn't really need anything specific. Wants to go for the more aggressive build. I don't blame him, he's been doing so well.
The side of NEXT.kz do have a lot of strong defensive spells, so being able to silence people up can be pretty useful for them, because otherwise you could have situations in which the Storm Spirit basically has to wait around for a disruption to wear off or something like that. And that means that, other people can TP in, other people can just, come around the corner, throw stuns on him. They may be able to pick him off, but...
Well, that was a relocate by Shadow Demon. That was a very... Illusion of Timbersaw to scout that out, right? That's all that they need. They will relocate back towards that top lane. Brilliant illusion. Shadow Demon never knew it hit him, basically. Well, until he saw the balls appear. But he's still level 3, so there was no doubt about it that he was gonna die. Kind of interested to seeing Hani farm the jungle right now, and that's all out of respect for Trixie, to allow him to get some farm middle, because he just gave his lane up for that, knowing that Trixie needs that. He is still sitting on only 12 last hits. In terms of farm, he's not going to get that much up against the Queen of Pain. And Queen of Pain actually level 7, while Timbersaw is level 5. We do have teleports coming top. What the fuck is going to be going down here first? But in goes Reeves with the stun. What the hell? Map! Wow, that was some weird map control from my end. But they will still get the Alchemists as well. And the Queen of Pain. Why not? 3-0. Era double kill. No problemo. No-Tail is the only one that is quite low from Fnatic, as the pause comes out from Trixie again and disconnects again from him. But I don't think he should die. There's too many creeps here to still tank the tower up.
I'm sure he'll be fine. Yeah. I'm sure he'll be fine. Era can manage to tank the tower for a little bit. He's got really good armor, by the way. That's something a lot of people underestimate on Storm, is his base armor is really good. It's one of the things that makes him such a good mid lane hero. But NEXT.kz right now, they're really struggling with actually getting any kills on anyone, because Fnatic's lineup is really hard to kill people. People like Timbersaw, the Storm Spirit, who's now ultra mobile with No-Tail there as well. And as well as that, they're so far behind on farm. The only one who's doing well is Mantis on his Outworld Devourer. He is picking up a hand of Midas. He went that first before even upgrading his boots, which means he'll hit very hard. But Fnatic have got relatively good BKB carriers this game, and if you miss the timing with OD for when you're strongest and you let the enemy team pick up BKBs, you can suddenly completely fall off in this game. And nobody else is going to pick up the slack right now. Queen of Pain, still just on brown boots. She's got herself a Circler and a Wand. Alchemist, brown boots. He's not going to be able to help. Of course, he's a support hero, but Shadow Demon is also really, really poor. Even Clockwork at this point has just got himself a Bracer. So I'm really worried about NEXT.kz at the moment.
Yeah, me too. I mean, they need that Queen of Pain to do well, to be mobile, to be as mobile maybe as the store. Might not be as mobile, but at least to come close to it. And that's a far way off, because I mean, she's died 3 times and she basically doesn't have anything. Then the next up who would be able to do that would be the Clockwork, but again, Clockwork doesn't have anything. He had a tough lane middle. He might have only died once, which was just now. And I mean, he does have his hookshot and all that, but he doesn't really have anybody to follow up on. And Alchemist is still level 3, so he's not going to be that one. And even though OD is doing very nicely on the bottom lane, and he's actually also got a hand of Midas, so he's second highest on net worth. But, I mean, it's still an OD. He is still not going to be able to do anything until later on. He needs more time, and I'm not sure if his team can buy that extra time before towers start falling. And once towers start falling, well, then Fnatic will be so far ahead that there's not going to be that much that NEXT.kz can do to stop it. I mean, we've already got the gold graph, about 2.5k gold in favor of Fnatic, and they haven't even taken a tower yet. That is just from farm, just from kills. Experience graph, same story, but of course experience graph is going to come more to those kills. And Era is just going to get out of control. He's been involved in all 6 kills, got 1 assist, 5 actual kills, so I share your worry, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, is NEXT.kz's lineup is really oddly built, because they're putting putting the Queen of Pain on the off lane and the Clockwork on the mid lane, which means that you're relying on all of your physical damage to be coming out from the Outworld Devourer, or at least all of your right click damage to be coming out from the Outworld Devourer. Yeah. And that's really dangerous to do, because he's countered by a single item. You know, it's a continuous issue for the hero. It's another reason why you can put him on the mid lane so often, because you can still say, you know, if he doesn't do well, at least somebody else will be able to guaranteed do damage. You know, a physical damage carry is almost always going to be able to do physical damage. Yes, you can counter it with Ghost Scepters and stuff, but they're nowhere near as powerful as BKBs. You can see that just in the cost difference. Whereas Mantis is a pure damage hero. He needs to be able to hit people as long as they're not magic immune. He could do that, but if they are magic immune, he does okay-ish mere right-click damage, and that's really not enough, because he needs to do a ton for his team.
Do you think, like, that No-Chill just has 2 PCs lying around at home?
I have no idea. Like, the number of times that I've actually seen that, like, worries me. Where people are like, oh yeah, he's using PCs. Like, seriously? You have multiple PCs that you can play Dota on? Yeah. I have 1 PC. Like, I would have to go and steal from people to be able to play on a second PC. That's... what the hell?
I wouldn't mind a second PC. I would trade my current one in for it. If it's a good one.
I'd steal somebody else's PC. I don't know, I'm pretty happy with mine at the moment. Yeah. I like mine.
I've got mine for 2 years right now, so meh, starting to be a bit old.
I've had mine for like a year, but it's like my first proper custom PC, so it's like my baby.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to give it up.
Well, no, this is my second home build PC. Same, so
I can't home build. Like, I can do stuff like that, but the thing is, I'm very, very worried that I'll just like put it together, turn it on, and then it just won't turn on, and I won't know what's wrong with it, and I'll be like, well.
I did have, I had a laptop next to me with Skype on it, and a friend that kind of helped me through it, and if there was something wrong, like I sent a picture with my phone, sent it to him, and he said like, you have to put this one there and this one there, so, you know, it was self-built, but then with a bit of help, but it turned on the first time that I pressed the on button. That was a really good feeling. But I think next time I would still ask someone else to do it, because you do, like, I know now why the computers are mostly built in the East. Because you need small hands, because my case is not that big. I guess that's part of the reason, but it's
is that like borderline racism?
No, it's facts. My hands are too big.
Okay, basically. I'm not gonna lie, yeah, you're right. My girlfriend's Chinese and she's like miniature, basically. Yeah. So it's true. Yeah.
So if you want to build your PC, you're just gonna tell your girlfriend what to do, right?
No way. I'm not gonna build my PC. I'm not gonna do that. Get someone else to do it. I have a couple of friends who could probably do it.
I was planning on having
Or I could just like waste money on buying one.
Yeah, I guess that's true too. I was planning on having someone else do it, but then, you know, all the parts were in my house, and the person that might have been able to do it would only be there like a couple of days later, and I just really wanted to have my PC, so I figured, you know, I can do it too. So I did it.
You don't. The thing is right, well, is whenever you ask someone to do something like that, you're like, you know, can you help me build my PC? They're like, oh yeah, sure, you know, anytime. And you're like, how about now? I'm like, no, I can't do now. You said anytime. What do you mean? How is that fair? And they're like, you can't just tell me to like randomly. Be like, well then what does any time mean? And then in the end, they don't come and do it for like 2 months because people are always like, not right now. So yeah, with stuff like that, you either like do it yourself or just be me and just buy it. Just buy it.
Yeah, or be me and just do it myself.
You're crazy. I wouldn't do that. I'd be so worried I'd break it. I'm the sort of person to like accidentally break stuff as well.
Well, it's very clumsy. It's very easy to break the motherboard, I've been told, so I'm always taking good care of it. Diego, what are you doing? It's my vest. He wants to go into my hoodie because it's warm in there. Yep, that makes sense, Diego. You don't fit there.
You'd realize you just started like a fanfiction thread somewhere on the internet, right?
No.
Like he wants to go in my hoodie. I hear bulldogs in the chat, you know.
Yeah, well.
I'm sorry. See, this is what happens when the game gets paused.
It's a cat.
Hey, you've not spent enough time on the internet if you don't think people can say weird stuff about that.
That's true. Oh, look. Saved by the bell. Saved by the ball. Boom! Bun.
For the balls. Brilliant. This is all kinds of weird already, but it's fine.
Yep. We have IO back. No-Till back in the game, so I'm hoping that we're going to have ourselves a continuing game, and that means unpause. It also means that everybody is going to be safe on the top lane. Maybe, do you think... No, OD cannot take a tower. I mean, that's one of the problems as well. I mean, if this was a Weaver on the safe lane, he would have been able to split push and been able to take down the tower very slowly, but an OD is just really, like, too slow for that.
Yeah, OD's an awful tower pusher. He has no way of clearing the creep wave. He has no way of doing, you know, mass damage to the tower. He just sort of sits there and really slowly chips it away.
Yeah.
So.
And that's too slow, in my opinion. So, yeah, and perhaps even right now, Hani is already coming back towards the mid lane, either to shoot Trixie away, or to take down the tower. I mean, they know that two heroes, the two initiators, are kind of dead. The Queen of Pain, oh, there goes No-Till again. The Queen of Pain and the Clockwork. So they have got some time to push the tower, and the only one that's around is the Shadow Demon, and he is of course still level 3, so good luck with that. And OD is still needing to farm bottom, so free mid lane, I'd say.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to point out, Hani still just sitting on a Wraith band and 2k gold. Like, I imagine the safe option would be to just turn this maybe into an Aquila, upgrade your boots, and then start working on your BKB. Do you think there's anything special he might come out with there, or is he just saving money for the hell of it? Is he just trying to make people nervous?
I'm not sure. I'm thinking he's not entirely sure about what he's going to build yet. That's going to be my logical explanation. And that he just wants to have all the options open for when things seem to be... Like, right now, they're, like, you know, it's going well, and it's a rising line for them, and you know, things are just looking up for them. But once things start to stagnate a little bit, perhaps then it's when he decides to have a game. Then he knows what type of game style he has to counter for NEXT.kz, what types of game it's going to be. Because right now, it just... Like, does he need an item if Eric continues snowballing like this? No. You know? He's not needed to have anything, and he comes to go again.
He now has super low FPS for some reason.
Well, hopefully that will smooth itself out.
I feel like 90% of problems like that can almost always be solved by just like waiting. Just be like, smooth it out. I'm sure it'll smooth out. Does it? Wow, for that. Okay.
He doesn't need good FPS. Well, we'll see. We're keeping an extra eye. So far, no. Oh, he moves. Yay! Cool. So yeah, everybody backs off. Everybody's safe. Everybody happy. Even Handy and Trixie back off from the mid lane. So no push happening there either. Mantis is slightly pushing on the bottom lane. And by the way, your answer is right there. Hand of Midas for Trixie. Wow, clockwork. Hook shot in. Gets himself an IO for it too. Pretty important pickup.
Yeah, they really need this clockwork to do things like that. He kind of needs to snowball a fair amount this game. He can't just be a tempo controller, and I'd be really worried if he just goes for something like a force staff or something. I feel like he needs, you know, that HP. He needs the ability to stand in the fight and do some significant damage, because he can with Battery Assault. You can't underestimate the amount of damage that Battery Assault can actually make you do in a fight.
Oh, relocate for bottom lane. They want to go for Mantis. Can they do it? Zip forward with Era. The Vortex is there. They get him. That's going to be the first time that the OD dies. Should be. Should be. Sonic Wave almost clears out No-Tail though. Oh, but the relocate takes them back to where they came from. Trixie, he'll get disrupted. He might still be in some trouble himself. Equal still around him as well. Timber Chain to the trees. Looks to get himself out. Can he TP out? Oh, the jukes. Not enough. Queen of Pain with the Scream was all that it took. One Timber Saw for a OD is still worth it though. And the Era is actually back here. Can he actually... If he did a long jump, he would have been able to catch a Shadow Demon, I think. But it might be too risky.
It's really risky to do that. People can TP in for it. But yeah, that's... in that little fight there, it went really well for the side of NEXT.kz as far as picking up a return kill. And Queen of Pain's actually having an impact in this game now.
Yeah. They come out refreshed out of this break, and Equal jumping around, just screaming on the Crystal Main, getting a kill. That's a second kill already. Yeah, refreshed, I'd say for sure. Then comes maybe No-Tail and Era. They're overcharged right now, but they're not really... Like, they have got the relocate back up again in 20 seconds. Equal, oh, they want to take him down. Should be able to. Nicely done. And that will be an invisible for Era as well if he wants it.
Equal went for the Crystal Maiden then, and then realized he was stuck between a Timbersaw and Tower, and just sort of... He could have ran towards the Timbersaw and then blinked forward to around here, and he would have pretty much been safe from that point on. His allies would have been close enough to save him.
Top. They want to help out. Bahani here is taken down. What the fuck? They get him as well, and this time they should be able to take the tower off the back of it. The creep wave is still quite far away, but it doesn't matter for Hani. He'll take the last hit and tanks up the tower while at it. In the meantime, we have got No-Tail. He's rotated back. And he looks to be wanting to make a go up on Mantis, but there needs to be someone else. Oh, and actually, Mantis is going to run right at him. No-Tail realized that. Yeah, hello.
Mantis? Why does Mantis not want to kill him there? You'd think he'd at least give it a go, but apparently...
He doesn't have the Sanity's Eclipse. I guess that's what he was wanting to wait for. Oh, No-Tail!
It's a wisp.
Hello!
Just kill him.
Oh, he's invisible. What? Oh, he's invisible!
Oh no, it's the invis, you can't tell.
Oh, we can't see that. Mantis is gonna die here first. Now Reeves and Equal. Equal still blinks himself out, but Reeves already dead. Double kill for Era. He's not done just yet. Slows down Equal as well. The TP, the blink rather. Cooldown. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Can he make it out? One more there. No! Oh, triple kill for Era. Was so close. I thought he would be blinking himself out, but no. In the meantime, Shadow Demon has come to try and see if he can help out, but he can't. Motherfucker, last one alive for this one. And he is not going to live for very long either. Gets Vortex, gets taken down. And that is a team wipe, a tier 1 tower to boot for Fnatic. And Alchemist already back off because he's just that low. And the GG call, 13-minute game. Almost a longer pause than the game itself. But NEXT.kz, they call it quits. They have had enough. Fnatic take another victory here in StarLadder Season 8, Day 22.
Yeah, I feel the real issue for there was just the fact that their Queen of Pain was underleveled. You saw multiple times that she was trying to move in and out of the fights and actually get some serious damage out. And she was able to either get in and do some damage, or she wasn't able to get in because if she did, she would get stuck there and she wouldn't be able to get out in time for her next blink. And the fact that they had to rely so much on their early magical damage... Both of these teams went very all-in with their drafts. Neither team played a real hard carry, so having a game that ended in 13 minutes doesn't really surprise me, because if either team gets a major advantage like Fnatic does, the other just has to be like, yeah, screw it, whatever. this game happens. I don't think the game was quite as one-sided as perhaps the score might show, but still a pretty well-played game from the side of Fnatic.
Yeah, I fully agree. Their next opponent is gonna be Empire, I believe. Yeah, Fnatic versus Empire. That will be our next matchup. And that will be the last, or the second last game for Fnatic, but at least it will be the last one for a while. At least they have a 2-hour break after that game. But Fnatic versus Empire, the game should start in about 15 minutes, so make sure you stay tuned, because it's going to be a great game as well. It's going to be a bit more even game, hopefully, than this one. We'll be right back with that game, so stay tuned.